Hey guys, it is Sunday, and that means it is time for the Snark Lounge. Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Jimmy, aka SnarkyGuy, and tonight we're going to be talking about traveling in China. So, got a full hey, Noel's in the house. There we go. It's time for Snarky, true story. And I notice Ziv is in the house. Is it Ziv or Zeev? I'm probably mispronouncing his name, probably. So, there we go. So, all right, I want to bring in some guests, and we're going to talk about traveling in China. First of all, you know him, you love him. It's the man behind the Rojo rope. It's Walkabout Rojo.
Oh, hey. All right. Well, hey, Happy New Year, everybody. You can see here my poor New Year's flowers are dying. If you don't know, these are the wallet flower because they look like a Chinese wallet, right? And they say when you have these and you fill them, you put it in your house, that you will be filled with money, but my wallet is dying. My wallet flowers are dying. I don't know what that means.
Was there actually any money in your wallet flower?
No, it's empty. You know, I can never keep anything alive, Snarky. Thanks you for inviting me back, man. This is my favorite place to be. Sunday nights at 9 p.m. on YouTube.
There we go. So, and we had another. Michael just disappeared. I was about to welcome Michael into the fold, and he just disappeared there. So, let's text him real quick and see if he can come back in. In the meantime, hey, we're talking about traveling in China. We also have Kung Fu Adam that may or may not be joining us. Apparently, he had some house guests in his house that didn't want to leave. And so that happens.
It's that time of year, man.
It is that time of year. They kind of come in sometimes and they just set up shop. And anytime my wife has some family or friends in, they just kind of come in, gather around, and they'll leave when they want to leave. So, yeah. Sukasa.
Is Bunny back? Is Bunny back for the new year? Or is she still in Hong Kong?
Bunny is back, but not back. She's in quarantine.
Yeah. How long? 2 or 3 weeks? Which one is it?
Well, both actually. It's 2 weeks in the quarantine hotel, no negotiation. Now you have a third week of self-monitoring, which used to be in the house, but I guess they're kind of strict on that. So if she comes back home, either I got to stay put or I got to go somewhere else for a week.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, she's been away for a while, so I'm assuming you will stay put with her, right?
There you go. Speaking of Bunny, there she is. She was commenting on her flower. Richard honored being in full flower. There we go.
That's right.
So
all of my flowers, I bought a ton of flowers. They're all dying, unfortunately. You know, it's 2 weeks. I can never keep anything alive. It's a good thing Skittles. I don't have a Skittles to keep me company in my house.
You give him some food and, let him steal some of your food and he's good. Hey, he's back. I want to welcome in. He hasn't been on the show for a little bit. It's Michael, Borderless Commercel. Hey, man. So, your mic isn't on, buddy. No mic?
Oh, right there. How about now? Clear?
There we go. He's live.
Yep, I'm alive.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good, man. I just had another baby, so my life's been pretty chaotic this past month.
Congratulations. Give him a round of applause. Good job. Congratulations to you and your wife, man. That's great news.
So was it a boy or girl?
I have 2 girls.
2 girls.
Yes.
I've also got 2 girls, and that's definitely fun, man. Awesome. So, all right. Well, guys, I want to be talking about some traveling in China. First of all, Michael, tell me about your channel for those of you who are not familiar with us.
Yeah, for those that haven't seen me in a long time, since I haven't been in the Snarky Lounge for a hot minute, I actually do help people with e-commerce, especially like those that want to source from China, maybe want to start like drop shipping their own private brand they want to sell overseas, especially with like payment processors. I help the community do that. So that's kind of like the gist of it.
There you go. Now, for those who are not familiar, I'm only loosely familiar. What is drop shipping?
Drop shipping is when you never touch the product. So you sell something online and like you use like Facebook ads or YouTube ads to get it out to the market, and you already have connections with supplier. So the supplier directly ships it to the customer and you don't touch it. It is frowned upon on Amazon, so be careful. Like there's ways you need to go about it. But that's essentially it, where you don't touch the product, you advertise it, and then you sell it to the customer at a higher price point.
Well, now that sounds kind of risk-free. Is it actually risk-free?
You have to deal with the returns and all that. Like it's going to be, if you have crappy suppliers, you have to deal with that.
Okay.
So you need to be able to deal with like the problems that you may encounter, like if the boat sinks when it's on the way, or if it's taking too long and the customer wants a refund, you need to deal with those problems. It's not like rainbows and unicorns.
Do boats sink often?
Not often, but it happens.
Oh, well, there you have it.
Yeah.
All right. For those of you, now I think most people in the audience are probably familiar with Paul, Walkabout Rojo. But man, tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel.
Oh, that's first of all, Michael, it's good to see you again, man. It has been a long time since we chatted. Yeah, definitely. Happy New Year to you too, man. I am just a humble teacher here in Zhongshan, China, not far from Michael in Guangzhou, and I just point my camera at beautiful things and try to tell nice little stories about hiking. I used to be a hotel manager, so I do a lot of hotel reviews, the Chinese car market, and anything and everything that I find interesting, and I hope you all find interesting too. So it's pretty simple.
There you go. So have you taken any trips recently?
I did, yes. I came back from Beijing recently. I spent a week in Beijing, and that's why I wanted to be on your show today, because it is the perfect example of what it is like traveling in China
There we go.
during the pandemic. And there's no stricter city than Beijing to do that in right now. So.
Well, let's jump right in. Tell us about this trip to Beijing.
All right, well, I'll go through it real quick. I've vlogged the whole thing. I went up there to do Universal, which was wonderful. Universal Studios in Beijing is a brand new one. Fantastic place, well worth the trip. But then I wanted to do like some of the traditional things like the Great Wall. It's my first time in Beijing.
Okay.
Everything is super strict regarding COVID testing and everything. And I thought I was completely ready for that. I got up to the Great Wall early in the morning. It's below zero, but I'm ready to go. I'm the only one there. And they turned me away and they said, no, you cannot come onto the mountain because your COVID test had expired. And I think it was at like 58 hours and it needs to be 48 hours. And I didn't know that.
Man.
Broke my heart. This is something people, want to wait their whole life to go see. So that's 2 hours out of the city. Now I'm technically outside of Beijing, and they won't let me back into the city because I didn't have a updated COVID. So I spent the whole day going police station, getting the test, registering the car again, waiting in line to get back into the city. And unfortunately, the same thing happened at the Forbidden City. I went for a walk, a couple of checks, and I had my test. I was ready to go. But when I got to the ticket counter, they said, sorry, because of COVID, we're only allowing half the people that are normally in. So the tickets were sold out. And so there's a total walkabout fail ×2 in Beijing.
Oh,
that being said, Beijing it was my first time there, and I was blown away by the city. It is definitely a city that is very walkable and worth a visit, especially the history, great nightlife, supremely friendly people. But when you travel in China, you must have all your ducks in a row. Triple check the requirements of everywhere you go. I double checked and I made the mistake of not triple checking, and those types of things happen. So, but as you guys know, when you're a foreigner in another country, you roll with the punches and it's all part of the adventure. So you got to have a good attitude about it.
Well, now, I mean, of course, there's a reason why the Beijing is kind of persnickety right now. So we have some Olympics going on right now.
Really? I didn't know.
Who would have guessed? It's like,
who would have known? So Ziv says Beijing is great, but so cold in January. I think that's true.
That's why I wanted to go, because there were less people. And sure enough, like Universal, when you go into Universal Studios, you've been to Disneyland Shanghai, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you know how big it is. You know how crowded it can be. Beijing's the same thing. But if you plan it right, and you go at the right time, you can get there. I did the whole park in less than a day. No lines, no crowds, none. It was cold. It was the middle of the week. It was before the Spring Festival. So it was the perfect time. And if you hit it right, you can get through it with no crowds. It's there.
There you go.
That's for many tourist attractions throughout China.
So now how did you get to Beijing?
I flew from Zhuhai.
Okay.
And flying, the experience of flying is getting better in China. I prefer to drive, but obviously that's, it's a very long drive. Of course, the high-speed trains are fantastic as well, but I become more accustomed to flying as they're becoming more on time. Flying in China is notoriously delayed because of the lanes that the airplanes have to take and everything are kind of restrictive. But it is getting much, much better. And every time I go, I have a better and better experience. And I flew into the brand new Beijing airport.
I heard about that. That's like supposed to be like the biggest one in the world now, right?
It's the biggest terminal in the world. I mean, it doesn't feel big when you're there because of the way it's laid out. But when you look up, you're like, holy crap, this is just giant ceiling. It's incredibly, there's 3 Starbucks, It is a remarkably wonderfully convenient on both ends, coming in and coming out, and it's in the middle of nowhere. It's south of the city, in the middle of the plains, and so
Well, it
but
has
there's
to be
lots of
because
yeah.
it's literally a kilometer from terminal to terminal, and it's like laid out like a snowflake.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and
so,
it's along the main central axis of Beijing. If you go north, it goes straight into the Forbidden City and straight into all the other gates and stuff like that. It's remarkably laid out,
yeah,
and the public transportation is fantastic. I rented a car, but there were trains, there are buses, I mean, it's so easy to get to and from anywhere in that city. Yeah, it's fantastic.
yep. So Michael, what kind of traveling have you done in China recently, my friend?
So I did the opposite of what Paul did, and it's I went to the warm areas in Hainan. Actually, Hainan
Ah,
is actually pretty strict, almost like Beijing, because especially during this season, like everyone's freezing, right? Everyone from the
Yep.
north wants to go to the tropical beachy place. So we went to Hainan, and I have to give Paul some slack because it's not always so black and white on how you can travel in China, especially post pandemic. Like
Yeah,
the
that's
rules
true.
change daily. They literally change
yeah.
daily. Like I've had friends who were traveling from Guangzhou to Shenzhen, vice versa, or like to other places. And while they were on the plane, they found cases in their city that they came from. And then when they landed, they're like, look, you have two choices. Go back to where you came from or 14-day quarantine. Pick one. And obviously,
Yeah.
obviously they chose to go back. But for Hainan, I did the research. I followed the apps in Chinese to see what is needed, and it went pretty smoothly with the 48-hour COVID test, which is just personally, I think if you're going to travel anywhere in China, always have a 48-hour travel test or a COVID test because that will just protect you.
Good tip.
Yeah, and especially now, it's just so like people are kind of paranoid to travel, especially during Chinese New Year's, like when everyone's traveling, you never know if you're ever gonna have a random case just come up. I mean, we had one in Guangzhou like yesterday, happen, and you never know when you're gonna be changed from low to medium to high risk. But
Yep.
after we did the 48-hour COVID test, we just took the plane there because it's an island. It's like the southernmost island, very beautiful place.
Yep.
It's actually very similar to Miami, where I'm from. They have like an Atlantis there. I'm not sure if anyone in the audience has been to the Bahamas before, but it's pretty much the same thing as the Atlantis there in Bahamas. And it was great. And apparently it's also a tax-free area, so a lot of people go there for shopping, like if they want to buy like a Louis Vuitton bag or like really expensive
Yep.
bags and they don't want to pay the full price. They go over there for the shopping. But it was great. I went with it was before my wife gave birth, so we went with my first daughter, and then we just had a great time at the beach, and it was I would go there again. Now the thing about traveling is that I've traveled in China a lot, but I've obviously haven't left China because it's risky. Once you leave China, it's very hard to come back as a foreigner. Maybe
No,
you
that's a
guys have
good
had
point.
different experience.
Tell us a little about that. Why is it hard to come back into China as a foreigner?
Because right now it's not so clear on who can come in unless like you have a valid work visa
Mm-hmm.
or a valid business. Like they're checking deep into the business. It's not like you can just open a business and then you can come in, because I've been following this pretty closely because I want to visit my family eventually in the US.
Yep.
But like if you open a business and they're going to look at your income statements and all that, and if it's not legit, they're going to be like, we're not going to issue you the visa to come here. And tourist visa is a no-go. Like no one I know has come on a tourist visa. The only exceptions are humanitarian, where like someone is in critical condition. For example, if you have like a foreigner and like a Chinese spouse, and the Chinese spouse parents are sick in the hospital and they have, their days are limited, then
Yeah.
they can bring the both family members to come here. They still have to quarantine and all that. But that's like the only exception. Right now, they haven't opened to tourists. So the people that are coming in now are like diplomats or people that have work visas or legit businesses. And it's different for every airport. Like as you guys mentioned, like the Beijing airport has a process, the Guangzhou airport has a process on how to accept people. Like sometimes it's 3 weeks in a
Yeah.
government facility and then 1 week at home, or 2 weeks at the government facility, or 1 week at home. And it's not so black and white. Like it's kind of like a guessing game. You got to roll with the punches, as Paul mentioned earlier. So it's it's quite a risk if you leave China now to actually come back if you're not Chinese citizen or green card holder.
Yeah. That's Burrex was saying that's why I'm afraid to go home. True story. He was saying he was actually just in Hainan or going to Hainan next week. And Burbeck says you need 2 tests to go there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I actually had plans to go. Mona and I were going to go right before the Spring Festival. And when I came back from Beijing, it was such a headache. I was so worn down from the trip that I just canceled the trip. I canceled the trip to Hunan and Zhangjiajie as well. And we just decided to stay home because, as Michael said, you never know. And sure enough, like a couple days later after I canceled that trip, there was a small little outbreak of 1 or 2 cases in each city here in Guangdong. And we all had stars on our travel codes. And so, just to get on the highway, you needed a 24-hour test. So, I mean, and that's just to go from one city across the river to the next city. And then to come back the next day, you need to get another test. And sometimes tests, you don't go into a clinic and get it. Sometimes, especially when these little outbreaks and everyone's moving around, those lines can be hours long. So you're pretty much incentivized just to stay home and have a little staycation. And so that's what I've pretty much been doing for the Spring Festival.
JK asks, do you have a star mark from Beijing?
No, I didn't. I came back from Beijing and the outbreak was maybe, it was like 15 or 16 days after I had returned. So I was past the 2-week mark. But Zhongshan had one here, so I got one on my little COVID thing, right? So I couldn't leave Zhongshan for about 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
It's all cleared out now. Speaking
of Beijing, Bunny says Rojo is making Snarky jealous of the Beijing trip. True story.
Are you serious? It says BJ trip.
I didn't want to go there. Well, I mean, it's going to go there. It always does, but we try to delay that as long as possible.
I'm thinking Beijing. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So, let's see. We had a couple of comments here. Wu Chiao is in the house. He says Shenzhen Airport is testing all arrivals for free.
Yeah.
Yep. So. In Shanghai, you can get tested pretty much anywhere, and it's not much. It's usually like I want to say like 50 or 60 RMB to get tested, and the results are pretty quick. You can go there any time of the day or night and either print them off the internet or just get a printout at the hospital. So
wow. So how long does it take for you to get one? Because it'll take almost 15 to 20 hours to get my results.
Generally, it's within 24 hours. So,
yeah. So you have to plan ahead of time. Yeah,
you really do. So,
and if you're traveling anywhere beyond 24 hours, you also have to find a place and schedule a test while you're in the place you're going to go at least 24 hours before you have to get on a flight.
Yeah, because you don't want to take the chance on that.
Yeah, you really have to do your research, especially if it's a city you're not familiar with.
Oh, hey, Bunny says it's only 40 RMB now. What do you know?
I think it's 36 or 35 in my city. So it varies, but yeah, it's not expensive.
Bunny and I, we went to pick up her COVID test at the university hospital here, and there was a French guy. He was supposed to be getting on a plane in 2 hours, and he was going there to get his. And I'm like, man, you're cutting it close.
Yeah.
So. Bowen is asking if Bunny's in Shanghai quarantine. Yes, she is in quarantine right now. Unfortunately,
I was going to say, in like Beijing Airport, I noticed that they do offer expedited test results for an additional fee. I don't recall. It was a couple hundred RMB, but it's 2 to 3 hours results coming back, and that is being offered in more and more places. From what I've been told, I haven't personally seen it, but it has been reported.
In Guangzhou, there's a place that also you can pay like a couple extra 100 RMB and receive it within hours.
Oh, nice!
Yeah, but that's risky. Like, if you're planning to receive it in 2 hours, that's too much of a risk.
Well, there you go. But yeah, that's the one nice thing about traveling in China is if you have that quarantine, the COVID report, generally travel in China is pretty easy. Although then you have to put up with the traveling thing. Rojo was talking about traveling by plane, and in China there are multiple classes of airplane travel, not just the class, but the airline as well. So, like, what plane did you take, Rojo, when you went to Beijing? What airline?
I try not to. The price varies, but I always try the different carriers. When I went to Beijing, I did China Southern.
Okay.
And I actually like China Southern a lot. I've done Shenzhen Air and Xiamen Air and a lot of different carriers, but China Southern, I think it's based here in Guangzhou, and I just
it is.
It is a little bit more expensive, but I find them to be very, very good. I've used them internationally as well, so that's the one I prefer to use. But I try not to use the same. I try to different ones depending on timing and when the flight is timed.
How about you, Michael? What did you fly when you went down to Hainan?
I'm a little biased, but I also use China Southern mainly because we have a membership there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just adding the points so that you can get. Actually, that brings me to another point. So when COVID first started to be under control in China, there were tons of offers from airlines to be like, hey, if you buy this $10,000 or 10,000 RMB package, you can travel for free within the next 6 months to anywhere that our airlines offers. I know some of my friends did that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they're offering that now, but I know when everything was recovering, they were definitely offering those packages, and China Southern was one of them.
Wow.
Now it's kind of funny. Caliber Wings was mentioning airlines, and he mentioned anything but Spring Airlines, and that's what I took last time I flew was Spring Airlines.
Yeah, I saw that. Tell us about that.
Plastic
Is it that bad?
So, as you know, we got a lot of them. You can take when we fly down to Hong Kong. Of course, I can take Cathay Pacific, which is pretty nice, regardless of what class you travel by. You got your Southern China, your Eastern China, which are generally mid-range, or it's not luxury, but it's not bad. And of course, most of them give you a meal service and drink service, and then there's Spring Air, which is basically the city bus of the air, literally. They have these one-piece plastic seats that don't recline. They don't move at all. They don't even have a cushion. It's literally like a bus bench.
Oh.
There's no meal or drink service. And to make matters worse, 30 minutes before you land, an announcer will come on trying to sell you something. So for 30 minutes, you listen to this long-winded diatribe in Chinese where they try to sell you, makeup or luggage, or I don't know, maybe makeup for your luggage or something. Who knows? But thankfully, there is still a bathroom. One toilet on this whole airplane. And so, you can just sit there and listen to music. What else? And I decided, I'm gonna go there. I gotta go. And why not? And of course, there's a line. That's right, 30,000 feet up, and apparently everyone else has the same idea. Of course, it gets worse because as you're boarding for the plane, there's always going to be that one guy that runs right through the airport and straight in to leave a hot, steamy one in the toilet right before you take off.
The toilet's more comfortable than the seats.
Apparently, yes. And I'm thinking, it makes sense. Why would you use a frequently more clean and much larger, more convenient toilet in the airport when you can just as easily jump into the small, cramped, and confined airplane toilet? That makes perfect sense. So I finally get my turn, and wouldn't you know it, the airplane air lavatory smells like ass. I mean, more appropriately like hot pot and shaved durian, ass. It's just bad. So I get inside this toilet, and you kind of, I'm a kind of a bigger guy, I kind of get in there, I kind of turn around and make sounds that everyone thinks I'm, having the Mile High Club by myself in there. And of course, there's a huge mess in the toilet. I try to flush it. Nope. It's basically there until we land. And so what do you do? So I hit the little, call flight attendant button. And in my best Chinese, I tried to explain the problem, which doesn't take much because, of course, there's a poo-filled toilet, and you just got to make the little meme face and point at it, and oops, and she disappears. And I'm thinking, she's gonna go get the air plunger. I assume that's a thing. air plunger, I assume. I don't know. Anyway, she comes back a few minutes later with a perfume bottle.
Like from her own purse, right?
Yeah. Probably. She's really spritzing the area, and I'm like, what the shiz? I mean, I can only imagine later how this story is retold. So this chubby foreigner had to use a toilet and it smelled, and so I sprayed it. What's his problem? Thankfully, I just had to pee. But yeah, so gotta love it.
That's Spring Airlines. Is that right?
Yes. So the maker of the plane with the plastic seats is Airbus. Okay, well there you go. So, hey, Jamaica Funk's in the house. He says it is a bus with wings. That's true. So, true story. Spring is the Spirit Airlines. I've never flown Spirit before, but I assume
it sucks.
It's well, there you go. So, did the perfume work? So Bunny says, let me know the brand. I don't know what the brand was. And here's the thing: even if I knew what the brand was, I don't think I would recommend it because I'd still have that mental connection to,
it's covering
stinky
the
poo.
Smell of...
Yeah, you don't want that. So, yeah, at least they don't force you to eat spicy chili curry. That's true. So. Yes, flying in China is always kind of a fun thing, but generally the process is pretty smooth as far as flying, I gotta say.
Yeah.
So, but has anybody ever taken a trip by car? I know Rojo probably has around China.
Many times. And Michael, I know you've done a few road trips as well.
Of course,
right?
We both have licenses, man.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, but I think you got a slightly nicer car than I do, man. So I've been from one end of Guangdong to the other. I've visited every city in this province and driven into Yangshuo and Guilin and up into Hunan and Jiangsu, or not Jiangsu, I'm sorry, Jiangxi. And that it's basically within the southern parts of China. But when I travel to other cities, I often will rent a car. And renting a car in China is much different than it is in the West, where it's pretty straightforward. You pick your car and you go. It's much cheaper to rent a car in China, but the apps are a little difficult to navigate, and the cars are not the greatest condition. Even if they're brand new, they're fresh. They got like 100 kilometers on it, and they still smell like cigarettes.
Yeah, of course.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. So,
gotta love those.
Traveling by car in China is a wonderful experience. The toll roads are great. They're very convenient. They're very fast. There's rest stops everywhere. But I actually like the little country roads a little bit off the beaten path that go through some of the villages and kind of see the off the beaten path a little bit. It takes longer, but I mean that's why you do a road trip, is to explore. And
there you go.
Some of the best discoveries I've ever had and best experience I've ever had have been unplanned events along those roads. Either it's getting stuck in the mud or, flat tires or, being invited for tea in some random village in the middle of the mountains. Highly
now,
recommend
for those of us
For
those of us who do not have a license, my wife was just asking, help Snarky get the Chinese. I don't have my driver's license in China yet. So how does one get a driver's license in China? Michael?
I mean, it's actually improved greatly for foreigners, in my opinion. For like the big cities, there's two types of licenses. They're both really easy to get. One is it's like I guess you can call it a permit or like a temporary license, and these can go up to like a year long, where you don't even need to take a test. Like if you have a license from your home country, you don't need to take a test. You can just show like your home country with like your passport and your translation, and they will issue you a temporary license as long as you're in China legally, at least in Guangzhou. Then the 5-year license, which is probably what Paul has, from what I'm assuming, is you have to take like a 100-question test, which depending on your city, they could offer it in English. So luckily I live in Guangzhou, so they do offer it in English, but if you're in a tier 3 or tier 4 city, you might need to practice some Chinese to take the test.
I'll be okay in Shanghai.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah. And as long as you score over 90 out of 100, there's 100 questions. If you score over 90, you'll get your license the same day.
So
I'm going
to interrupt you real quick. Heinrich, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. So So I gave 10 euros and said some support for your next flight. I appreciate that, my friend. So sorry to interrupt you. Michael, continue,
No, that's
please.
cool. That's cool. So if you don't have a license in your home country, because I love driving, I'm American. Like, we love to drive.
Of course.
If you don't have a license from your home country, good luck is what I can say.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
want to know how to get it that way, you need to take the Chinese course, and it's only in Chinese. Some people let you bring a translator, but then you have to be like very sketchy about it. And you need to take 4 tests, 2 driving tests and 2 written tests, all in Chinese, just like a
Oh,
regular
wow.
Chinese person. And this process takes about 3 months. It could be between 3 to 6,000 RMB
Yeah.
for the whole thing, and you're not guaranteed to pass. So if I were a foreigner coming to China the first time, I would definitely get a license in my home country first, just so you can be able to drive in China. Otherwise, it's going to be a big pain to get it from scratch.
Okay.
And getting it translated, by the way, you have to register a Chinese name with the government, and that's part of the process when you get a Chinese license. And that was actually the hardest part of the process, is knowing which government office to get that done. It's doable. If you don't know, just ask. Someone will point you in the right direction. And he's right. The Chinese test is available in English. It's not the greatest translation. I mean, as far as intuitive answers. Some of the answers, could be A, could be B, but there's plenty of resources online. There's practice tests online to help you through that test, and it was remarkably simple. The computer online test in English, and he's right. It's the best way to do it.
So how much does that cost if you do it that way?
Very little. I don't recall. It was a couple of years ago, but the most
Noel
expensive
just
part
popped
of
up.
it was
He said it was 10 RMB. What?
Well, I don't think that the whole cost to include the translation and the
Yeah.
paperwork you need to get is probably going to be close to 300 to 600 RMB. In
yeah,
that
I would
range.
go with that. Yeah, but it's still pretty affordable.
Yeah.
And
That is
the whole
affordable.
process, if you don't have a registered Chinese name with the government, that's notarized and everything by the government, it took me about 6 to 7 weeks to go through that process and get it here in Zhongshan. It depends on what city. If you're in a larger city, it's probably a little easier.
Yeah.
There you go. So Noel says that he failed and not passed any of the mock test. He says you need a 90 to pass.
That's right. Yeah.
So now I do know, and I do have there's a little mini app in WeChat on my phone that lets you practice that, and most of them are fairly straightforward. Although, like Noel says, there are a few tricky questions that you can stumble on.
But when you take those practice tests, they're not a lot of questions. There's 100 questions, but there's not like 100 out of 1,000 possible. So when you're taking these practice tests, the same one comes up over and over again. If it's a sticky question, you start to remember that's the answer for that one. And that's how I did. I just kept on taking the practice tests. So I started consistently scoring over 90. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the test.
Yep. Wujiao says easy to pass the test if you practice.
Yeah.
JK wants to know if you need any health check to get the license.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like it's a check the block. Like, at least in Guangzhou, you go to the DMV there, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and you can go upstairs to get the test, and they just check your eyesight. I don't know how they do it in Zhongshan, but in Guangzhou they just check your eyesight to make sure you can see, and then they're like, okay, you pass.
Yeah, there's a hospital, the public hospital, and there's like a separate area just for this. And they go to the doctor. It's like a 90-year-old woman. She looks at you and says, "Okay, you got a healthy body. Here's your eye. Here's your eye check." And there is a colorblind test. You got to do that as well.
Yep.
And but it's not a difficult process. I was in and out in 10 minutes.
Yep. Well, there you go. That sounds pretty straightforward. So, unlike some other countries which make you take the test and then the practical test, and of course then they want 2 forms of identification, a letter if you're a 3rd grade teacher, and 2 vital organs, their choice. So true story. But
now, I do want to add something about driving in China. So it's definitely, there's pros and cons. You need to get used to, there's no right of way in China, like just being flat out. There's just no such thing as right of way. In the test, there's such thing, but in reality, There's no such thing. So you just got to be able to go with the flow.
Yeah.
And if you're traveling long distance, like I've traveled 6-8 hours driving with my family to like Chaoshan or to Shanghai, which are, not tier 1 or tier 2 cities. And I'm actually really surprised about the quality of the roads. And as Paul mentioned, there's a lot of rest stops. Like you're not gonna ever run out of gas or food on the way, as long as you go like through the main routes. If you go to like the battered routes, I'm not so familiar with those. But if
Yeah.
you go to like the main routes, it's very smooth ride, and I felt like it was very good quality ride. Whereas I've been to places specifically in South America where I felt like I was gonna die driving because I was
Yeah.
skirting like cliffs and mountains, and they didn't have rails, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. So I didn't get that sense as long as in the Guangdong province. It may be a little bit different in the north of China when you go to like the mountainous areas, but at least in the
Yeah.
Guangdong province, it was a good experience. I didn't mind it. Now, one warning: if you're driving in China, just don't do it during the holidays. Just don't do it because
Right.
you're gonna
You
run
just
into
don't travel
crazy
in China
traffic.
during the holidays being avoided.
Yeah, like you're gonna run into so much traffic. The only good thing about traveling during the holidays is that you don't have to pay any toll roads. Tolls are free. But it's just
Hey.
not
Mm.
worth it if you're traveling like the last day of Chinese New Year's coming back to you're gonna expect like 4 times the amount of travel time just because
Yeah.
of the traffic.
I love this comment by Jamaica Funk. He says the quality of the roads in China isn't the problem. It's the quality of the drivers.
It's getting better. I mean, just in the last 5 years, it's gotten so much better. And he's right about there being no laws, like rules of the road, but there are cameras everywhere, and you have to fear the cameras. The cameras will get you. I've gotten caught twice, and for the same thing, I crossed a solid white line. You're at a red light, and the person in front of you doesn't want to go, so you have to like go around them. You have to cross them. The camera got me, and the process of points and getting that cleared off your record. Michael, we talked about that.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's not fun. So you drive the speed limit, you follow the rules, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Let other people go crazy and break the law and stuff.
The cameras in China are amazing. I actually, speaking of traveling, I'm sure you guys have taken the shared bikes before. Everyone ever taken those before?
I have not. I have never done it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
Really?
I'm
never
sure you know
worked.
the
The app has never worked for me, man. I've never been able to do it.
Whoa.
That's why I
walk.
walk.
It's fine. So for those of you who don't know, in China they have shared bikes literally everywhere. And you just you pull out your phone, you scan a little QR code, and it's about 50 Chinese cents per hour to ride, or you can get a monthly plan for like $16 a month. That's about $2.50 US if you want to take that. And it's just absolutely wonderful. Normally in the mornings, I will take the shared bike, from my house to the metro. Then I'll take the metro. Then I'll take another shared bike. And it's pretty great. As a matter of fact, Burbex actually just did a video talking about the literal mountains of shared bikes that are piling up around China now because a lot of the companies are going out of business. I digress. So I find a bike the other morning outside the metro to go to work. I scan it, and just as I'm scanning, I notice there's a bag in a little basket up front, someone else's bag. I look around, and there's no one. So I look in the bag, and there's a hard drive in there and someone's personal effects. And I'm like, okay, obviously somebody's. So I don't have time to sit around. I'm thinking, well, I don't want to just leave this. So, I'm like, no problem. I'm just going to, ride to school and let my director take care of it. No problem. He'll call the police. So I ride to school. I get there, and the director is literally at the door waiting for me. He tells me the owner realized his bag's missing, couldn't find it. So he called the police. The police immediately checked the CCTV, found me, identified me, know where I work, and then they tracked me all the way there using the CCTV cameras, and the police are on the way to get the bag. And I'm like, wow.
SWAT's coming to get you.
Yeah. So, the cameras everywhere, which a lot of people say that's bad, but I'm like, okay, you know what? what are they gonna, identify, when I go poo? Okay, no problem.
Yeah, the thing with the cameras, Westerners, everyone's scared of the cameras, but there's not somebody like sitting at a computer watching the Laowai go all throughout the city. I mean, that's not what they're used for. Exactly. They're used in the exact same way that you just described, and it's not just for surveillance; it's for solving problems, whether it would be a simple problem like that or a major problem.
Well, it's good because this is in Shanghai, for example. If my wife wants to go down at 3 a.m. and buy a baozi, I feel safe with her going, because it's just fine. I mean, like you're saying, a lot of people will be kind of upset about this. 2 years ago, I was taking my bike across the river here in Shanghai, and I had to take a ferry. And so I, get on the ferry, go up the top, and there's a policeman up there. He's actually a SWAT team policeman. Big SWAT label on the back, and he's up at the top, just taking photos with his phone. And I say hi, and he turns around. English is probably better than mine. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm doing pretty good." And and he's like, "So it's a nice day to take photos." And oh yeah, it's like a 5-minute ferry ride. So, you do the 5-minute, Insta friend, and off the ferry. And so he's like, "You must be Jimmy." And I'm like, yeah, how do you know? And he's like, "Oh, we knew everything in China." And he kind of paused. And he's like, "No," he's like, "You're the only foreigner on the ferry, and you paid with your Alipay, so it's cool." And I'm like,
wow. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'm like, they're on their game, man. Yeah. They're on their game. Yeah. So
I want to share something about the cameras, especially when
yes.
Paul brought up about the cameras for the driving. I actually work in the tech industry as my primary job, and one of the products that we sell are those cameras. And those cameras algorithms are amazing. Not only can they see everything clearly in 4K, but it's to the point where, depending on where it's located, they can scan your face and see if your face matches the registration on the license plate. So each license plate has the person's name, registration, all that, and they can match it. So if there's like a stolen car, then they can figure it out. And to add to the points that Paul was mentioning, so if you screw something up and they catch you on camera and they give you the points, they are leveling up the technology where if you honk where you're not supposed to honk, like there's the no honking zones, the algorithms can tell which car honked and they can give you more points for that. What? So it's kind of crazy. Yep. Those algorithms are going to work to catch those people.
Wow. That's nuts, man.
Yeah. I kind of welcome that as a matter of fact.
I've heard they don't even have to identify your face. They can identify you at a distance based on how you walk, your individual gait.
Yep.
So
I just wish the honking they can do for the electric bikes. I know the cars have the honking, but the electric bike honking is just ridiculous in Guangzhou. I'm not sure how it is in your city.
Oh no, yeah.
It's not that bad in Shanghai as far as the electric bikes. I mean, except for the Waimai delivery drivers. Those guys are beeping and will take every shortcut and try to game the system and save themselves a cool 17 seconds. So yeah, they're pretty hardcore, those guys. But so speaking of traveling, is anybody taking the high-speed train in China?
Come on, man.
I think it's like the first thing you do when you're here, right?
Yeah. Knock that off my bucket list. Yeah. So I will sooner take, if I have the time, I will sooner take a high-speed train over the plane any day of the week. Yeah. The high-speed trains are wonderful. For example, we get them in Hong Kong to Shanghai. It'll take you a hot minute to get where you're going. But what I love is they've got a QR code on the seat, so you can order your delivery, your Waimai. And somehow, I don't know how they do this, they've got this black magic that coordinates where the train is with the Waimai. So, like, for example, I wanted to order me some Burger King. Yeah, no problem.
Wow, okay.
I wanted some Burger King. Why not? I mean, who doesn't like a good Whopper, right? So the average delivery time is set to 45 minutes, which is about average for, Meituan or Erlama, which is the apps for people who don't know for ordering food in China. There's others, of course. And about after 30 minutes, I'm on the train. I get a text and says they're running behind. They can't make the delivery time. Now, at this point, you normally just wait longer, but I'm on a train that's only going to be stopping, for example, in Changsha for 4 minutes. So obviously I can't wait for it. But now the amazing thing is somehow they have the technology to match the delivery with the train and your order, and they reroute the order to the next city I will be stopping in.
That's
amazing.
It's amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah.
So not only did they successfully get my order, but they anticipated my stop to that narrow little window, and the guy's waiting there. And 11 minutes after my delivery time, I'm chowing down on a Whopper and fries.
That's incredible. I just imagine the poor delivery guy waiting on the with the Burger King. Get in 4 minutes. I got 4 customers. This is yours. You got the Big Mac. Okay. Are you? It's just...
So,
my God.
Bowen's like, now you're speaking my language, Burger King.
Yeah.
Sam's like, holy shiz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you can get the
impressive.
dude. You can get everything, anything you can order. I have literally seen people order just like mugs and glasses and hats and everything else you can order delivery on the train.
Your Taobao Kuaidi is coming. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The best part about the trains is, of course, they have that scheduled, like in Changsha, for example. I'm using that. They have a 5-minute window, right? Or 4 or 5 minute window. And so everyone will run off their chain smoking, and there's always this one guy who doesn't anticipate the doors. The doors close, and he's like, turn around, ah! And he's like banging on the window, that train's going like, poor guy. Yeah, I mean, he can get another train, but his bag is on that train already, and they're not stopping. So, gotta love it. Speaking of gotta love it, he's late, but better late than never. It's Kung Fu Adam.
What's up, everybody?
Hey. Welcome
Sorry
to the
for
party,
being
my
late.
friend.
Sorry for being late.
Better late than not at all. There we go.
Yeah, I had a studio set up and everything, but I was told that at some point today that I was gonna have to hang with some friends of the family. So
it happens, dude. It's time of year.
Yeah, that's what you do.
So tell us about travel. What kind of traveling you've done in China, my friend?
I mean, obviously, as a photographer, I traveled over quite a bit of China, but it's all basically travel and tourism type photography. I've been to some places that other people aren't allowed to be for photography specifically, but other places just where people just don't normally go when they look for traveling in China. I tend to go to small villages or like older towns, that sort of thing.
So what do you do from a lot of these travels? I mean, just for photography for your own purpose, or what do you do?
So when I first came to China and was doing photography in these little areas, I was kind of just doing it myself. I was just I would go and I would find a really cool place somewhere that I thought was historic, that had some interesting people, some interesting culture, somewhere I can learn from the people, right? And I would go to somewhere like Lanzhou or somewhere that a lot of people maybe don't go, but I would find little places there that are just really cool. And so over time, I met a lot of people while traveling, and some photographers that kind of learned about who I was. And I was invited by government agencies and tourism boards to take photos of their locations and to join in like photo exhibitions and stuff from, the different photo societies in China, and actually from the Beijing propaganda board themselves. I assisted them on a couple. Again, when I do this is just like these are just photos. They're not any political thing or anything like that, but it's photography of places, just showcasing the best of the places without being fake. Like one thing that I'm known for is my photography is real. It's not heavily photoshopped or modified, any of that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
That sort of thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
hey, Steven, welcome to the show, my friend. Good to see you. So, someone was asking, he says, I can't order YMI for my 12306 app. How do you get it for foreigners? Anybody know?
Say that
I don't
again.
even know that app. What is that app?
I have no idea. That's why I thought I'd throw that out there. Normally, for ordering YMI, I would use Meituan or Erlama, which curiously enough means "Are you hungry?" in Chinese. Those are the two big ones. So I don't know about those other apps. There's
I
others.
just use WeChat, like Meituan and WeChat, right? That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can use that. There's others, like there's Sherpas, which is mainly geared towards foreigners, but all the prices are a little higher. So, forget that stuff. But
I have a question for Adam. He said he's been to places like I've usually been to the mainstream places, that are easy to access. But have you been to places where you needed to go to like a special application process to enter? If you have, would you mind sharing that with us?
Well, I mean, I've been to a couple places where you're not normally allowed to go, but the government invited me, so they brought me to different places. So there's some Xinjiang locations. There's I don't know if you guys are aware of a place called Dunhuang. You know Dunhuang in Gansu? Have you heard of that?
I know.
So Dunhuang has a lot of really old cultural relics. It was on the Silk Road, right? And it's one of the main towns along like crossroads there in China, and it has the largest cache of Buddhist art in the world. There, it's like 1,400 years old. People are not allowed to go in and take photos. Like if you're like there's like 800 caves. It's amazing. Like the art and the history is just ridiculously cool. But you have to get a tour to go in. Only a certain amount of people can go in every day. Like the Getty Institute helps work on the preservation of it because it's so old. It's like falling apart. So like they really care about light and all these different things. So
What's that place called again?
Dunhuang is the city, but it's called Mogao the Mogao Grottos. Mogao. And basically since 1966, nobody was allowed to go in and take photos at all. And very few people are allowed to go in on a given day for tourism purposes, that sort of thing. And when you go into these caves, you're only allowed to go into like between 5 and 10 caves on a trip, right? And you're only in these caves for like a minute or two. Like you're in there really quick, just in and out.
So no, like even with your phone, no photos, no video with the phone.
If you pull out your phone to try to take photos, they will have guards that will literally just get you out of there immediately. Like they're really. You can search on the internet, search for photos of Mogao grottos, and you'll see some from the Getty Institute, and you'll see very few high quality images from there.
Funny, you just put the Chinese up there for anyone who wants to search it.
Perfect. But I was allowed to go into the grottos and take like full on professional photos and video for a couple of days. It was incredible. Like one of the coolest experiences I've had in China in terms of like this is a place where nobody else. Like I'm the first American ever allowed to take photos in there for my own purposes. So like it's pretty cool that what I was able to do at that time. And I mean like I have full authorization to do whatever I want with those photos, that sort of thing. But some of the photos I gave to them and they're going to use for like marketing and that sort of thing. But yeah, so that's just one of the examples. Like again, the Xinjiang ones, there was some difficulty. I had an Inspire 2 drone, so the really big DJI drone. And it was stuck in the airport in Urumqi. It wouldn't go to my final destination, which was in Yivi, which is like the northwestern edge of Xinjiang. But again, because I was invited from the government, they had somebody actually just go pick up my drone from the airport and drive it the whole way. So I had it in a couple of days. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But where we went, an amazing city called Tekesi, Tekesi, and Tse, yeah. But it's a city that is formed in the shape of a bagua, the 8-sided symbol. So it's just an amazing city. But foreigners have to get through a lot of check-throughs to get there, and right now it's really difficult to go there.
So if
Beautiful
someone wanted to
place.
see
I
your
love it.
photos, are your photos online, Adam?
The best place to look at my photos right now, because my website, I'm redoing it. The best place to look at my photos are on Instagram right now. So,
Okay.
some of the places, I've done some videos and posted them on my YouTube channel, but really Instagram's the best place. Just look for Kung Fu Imaging.
There we go.
Instagram.
Okay. Kung Fu Imaging. If you just search for that on Instagram, you can find his photos. So nice. So I like this. Bowen says, how many times a week do you order Waimai? So
don't answer that. Bunny's online. Don't answer it.
Many.
Malfunction.
More than once.
Actually, the truth be told, I've been trying to order it a lot less. I've been doing a lot of cooking. Yesterday, true story, not making this up. Yesterday, I went out and I walked 10 kilometers.
All right, man.
Proud of you, brother.
Yeah, and I know that because he was talking to me and I could hear he's out of breath. He's like, dude, I can't wait to do this. I'm on my way back now.
I walked all the way down to the Shanghai train station and got there, and then I took a bus back.
Oh, that's funny.
It was cold.
It's good. Good job, brother. Do it again. Do it tomorrow.
10K in the city is no joke, man. I mean, it's hard on your ankles. It's hard on your feet. The sidewalks aren't always. It's not a perfect running track that you're hiking through the city on. There's a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of stops and goes. There's a lot of ups and downs. 10Ks through a city is not an easy trek.
So yeah, and this is why I don't order more Waimai. It's like I will check the bank transactions to know it.
Buddy, come on.
Does your wife have it so that she gets text notifications every time there's a transaction?
Oh God, really?
Breaking up.
This is why I'm a single man.
No, true.
My stuff is in my own name, so it's okay.
There you go. Hey, you know what? My wife is wonderful. So she everything I do is just a little better with her. Everything. So I'm really looking forward to her getting out of quarantine.
We love Bunny. We miss her. We want to see her back on the Snark.
Yes, I want to see her back too, definitely. So, well, I hate to do it since Adam just joined us, but we're just about out of time. So there you go. She's like the home money bank is under my name.
You're probably gonna get a text message from my
smart girl.
You're gonna get the idea of a text message from me. Watch.
That's cool. So, well, hey, I want to give everyone a couple minutes just at final thoughts, and of course, what videos you have coming out in the near future. Let's just go right to Adam. Adam, any final thoughts on traveling in China and any videos you have coming out in the near future?
So first off, I want to apologize for being late. I know this is a really fun conversation, a lot of cool stuff. Traveling in China is an amazing experience, and I hope more people can get out and do it. Hopefully I'll have some information in the future about a photo tourism company that we've been working on. To be honest, I'm finishing up some of the videos that Snarky and I put together with our map snappers. Hopefully we can get that up and running as well. So looking forward to that. So everybody, should be fun. Those are some fun videos that we did. So I hope we can get back to that. So I think everyone's going to really enjoy that. Look for those videos coming up, and enjoy. Thanks again for having me, Snarky. Sorry for being late.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, my friend. So, Michael, final thoughts and any videos you have coming out in the near future?
Yeah, the final thoughts about the travel is that, as I mentioned before, it's very unpredictable. But there are apps you can follow to stay up to date. Maybe I can share it later. And for videos coming up, I mean, if you're in the e-commerce industry, I teach people how to buy from like Taobao or 1688 without ever having to step foot in China legally. So those are a couple of videos I have coming up that are being updated because, some people want to buy on Taobao and they want to ship it back to their house wherever they are in the world. So
there you go. So Well, thank you, my friend. Paul, final thoughts and any videos you have coming out in the near future.
To echo these guys, traveling in China is a lot of fun. It's remarkably easy, but when it's not easy or something doesn't go in your own way, it's all part of the adventure. And it really is. And if you miss a bus, there'll be another one coming 5 minutes later. So just be
And it'll
patient.
tell you where it's at.
And people are very friendly. And if you are a lost foreigner, like we've all been at one point in our lives in some random town, there's always going to be someone there to help you. And that's always been my experience from the day I got here. So as far as videos coming out, I've got it over the last year. I've been going out to Huizhou and Guangdong. And so I've got an amalgam video that I put together called Adventures in Huizhou. Everything from hot springs to hidden noodle shops and little villages to the beach and to camping on the side of a cliff. Very, very excited to share that one. So Mona has helped me put that together the last year or so, as well as wax figurines. They're made here in Zhongshan. I'm on my way up to the Canton Tower sometime next week, Michael, to film the actual museum. And then I've already filmed the factory where they make these things from beginning to scratch. So I got some interesting things, firefighters I've been training with the local search and rescue team here in Zhongshan at the fire stations, on the trucks, in the firehouses, putting out fires, climbing walls. It's an amazing video. So I got things like that coming out. And hopefully in the next term, more car videos. I'll be in Beijing for the Beijing Auto Show at the end of April.
Oh, that'll be fun. Definitely. Yeah. Cool. Well,
I'm
as
looking
far
forward
as
to your Huizhou stuff. We just bought a house there, so that'll be cool.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll show you around, man. So it's a beautiful city, Huizhou is, definitely.
Nice.
There you go. So as far as me is concerned, well, I do love traveling in China. Like Paul was saying, if you are lost, it's amazing how easy it is if you've got the right apps to find out where to go, how to get there. And most people are generally pretty helpful. I have not really had any hard times. As far as videos coming out, I've got some more 360 videos I've been working on. Really enjoying that. I also made a video recently in Century Park here in Shanghai, so that's coming out. But yeah, in the meantime, I want to thank all my guests for coming. Do go around, visit their vlogs and all their videos. Definitely mash that like button, guys. It definitely helps. And I want to thank everyone for joining us in the audience. Guys, we will see you next week right here on the Snark Lounge. Have a good week, everyone.
See ya. Thanks, brother.
And